What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Kindred. Episode 9, which, hilariously enough, episode 8 came out 6 months ago when the Jaeger's data sheet dropped out, but it doesn't matter. We're here. And the nice thing about this is that I just realized in looking, because I wanted to tell, like, oh, it's been 6 months, like, since we did the last pod. I'm so sorry, everybody. In looking that up, I realized we started this a year ago in,
Crazy.
I think, November or October, but here we are. Like, I live across from your school and all the kids are yelling. Thank you so much, everyone, for. I actually, GP, I don't know if I told you, I've gotten emails from people like, yo, when you guys getting.
Oh,
Like,
that's
I have my
awesome.
emails attached to the YouTube,
Oh,
which
I
I'm going
love
to take that
that.
down. Like, oh, when you doing your next one, blah, 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 which thank you very much for reaching out. Really appreciate it. Sorry it's been so long, but we're back. We're here, and we have a very special guest.
We do. And, and not only as part of that, but, before we get too deep into that, and I want to make sure we can give him the proper introduction, but it's been an interesting last couple 6 months. And I know I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel like we entered a bit of a lull period with Warhammer, right? For a lot of folks, especially locally, I feel like we were really feeling the slowdown between different codexes and things like that coming out. It felt like we weren't getting them as rapidly as we had been previously. And I know that with some of my armies, I was like, well, I don't have as much variety as I have had in the past. But right now, Grotzmas, this has been fantastic. They're just pumping out all
Funny
these
little thing.
detachments. We're getting all this content, all these events, and it feels like we're really entering, and we have been for the last while, don't get me wrong, but we're entering a new meta now, especially with the slate, the new MFM, everything like that. We're going to be in a really great spot. To make sure we have the opportunity to talk about the great spot that we've been in and some of the success that he's had, we have a good friend of ours here, Tim. You want to introduce yourself, my
Hey,
friend? Tell the
I'm
people what
Tim.
you're about.
I'm the Votan player that went on the on the World Championship. Basically, I got 6-2, so I was in the top 16 bracket, top 8 bracket, and I'm playing Votan now for quite a lot of time. Like I started playing 40k competitive a year ago. Now and yeah, I'm just grinding Votan like super stupid, more, and like my goal was basically I will show you guys Votan can be S tier. And yeah, I mean, it's not S tier in the
Wow.
end, but I still think it's really high up there. Yes.
Only a
I
year,
think
huh?
with the dude, only when he told me that when I met
That's
and he
so
told me that I talked to
impressive.
him, I was like, don't. I almost wish you didn't tell me that. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Good for you.
Dude, I remember one of I feel like there's constantly large tournaments happening all over the world every weekend, but the competitive channel in the Votan Discord, which if you're not in the Votan Discord, we'll have a link to join in the show notes. Please join. It's a really wonderful community. We're all really fun. GP and I are both admins in it. We love the place. During that weekend, it was a buzz. Every time Tim you won, it was just like, yo, I'm not kidding you, dude. It was like popping for a bit in there. It was like a breath of fresh air was breathed in there when your run at the World Championships, because once we saw you got to the finals and towards like the top 16 and everything, we were just like, this is gonna happen. Like, we're gonna get a Votan, it's gonna win the worlds. And everyone was like, that's not gonna happen. Get out of here. It's probably gonna guard or something. Hilariously enough, ended up being not guard, but no one thought Custodians would have done it, but they did it. But that's neither here nor there. But dude, your run was super impressive, and hilariously enough, it is because of the German meta specifically that everyone keeps talking about. Like, whenever Votan does well for a weekend, everyone's like, was there a tournament in Germany or something? Like, did the Germans have a tournament? Which is just so funny because you guys play. Because I want to get into specifically about you and your run at Worlds, but I'm very curious because in Germany you
No,
guys
we
play what?
play
UKTC,
WTCC, and
WTC? What
right
do you
now,
play?
this whole year, it's also a lot of Games Workshop terrain. So it's like we had, I
Sure.
think last year was a lot of WTC, but like I said, I can only talk for this year now because I'm only playing like this year. And this is like the main
Sure,
thing
Right,
here.
sure.
That's interesting.
See,
One
I
of the things
figured.
that we've talked about in the past is that you should always play to and build to your meta, right? Obviously, I feel like this is something that I'm a little ignorant to. What's different in the German meta? Is it just the fact that it's that WTC on UKTC terrain, things like that? Is it just the terrain setups that make it a little bit different? Or are you
I
guys
mean,
playing,
at first, because of a
is there
German, I
something
need
that...
to make one joke and that's it for the whole series. So we are just better. Yeah.
Oh,
See,
truly,
you
yes,
know?
exactly.
Honestly, I
Yes,
think
it's
the main
German
part
engineering,
is in
truly.
Germany right now. We are not like that depressive about when armies are bad. Like when I remember I started playing Voter, and especially start of 10th edition, or we are like 20% win rate or so. They are not playable. You can only play Terminators, and that's it. And it's really bad. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. Let's start playing something else. Okay, now there's a Sagittor spam. Okay, this is also not working that great. Okay, let's play something else. I think the America, or especially a lot of the world, you have like the meta players, and you have really little players that actually try to play
Yep.
something
Mhm.
different. Like there's a lot of players out in the world there, but I would say there's less than 10% of these players actually try to build their own lists and also look into what other armies can do. And I think this is the main thing we had in Germany
Sure.
because
I respect that so much. It's one of the things that I think we've also mentioned this in the past, but I like to tell people all the time is to find your niche. There is something to be said about even just the psychological effect of you having a list that you believe in and that you're fond of
Yep.
and you like, and you're naturally going to try harder to find ways to make that list work because it's unique to you. It's your niche and you've cut that out. I respect that a lot. That's a great way of going into it.
Truly. Truly. And I think especially like when because you do team stuff, Tim, you're on Team Germany, right? I mean, I feel like when you do team stuff, it helps you approach singles a little bit differently. I think it will just help you approach the game in general differently. It gives you like a fresh perspective on how you should be scoring, how you should be moving, how you should be like, will it fundamentally change the outcome of this game if I make a really risky charge, or if I point my, in a case like if I point my Hecaton out to shoot at this tank, does that mean that 30 other of their tanks will then just shoot it immediately next turn? Whatever. You know what I mean? I think it helps you approach the game a bit differently. And so, especially when you're at the caliber of playing on a national team that goes to something like, like the what's the War Masters, right? That's the tournament every year in Austria. I feel like when you're doing like the world stuff of that caliber, like you're just approaching the game a bit differently, which is obviously like what sets apart winning, your RGT as opposed to getting to the top brackets of something like WCW, right? So I think all those aspects are really important that help you get further into the game and how you think about the game and stuff like that. But yeah, I think, because I think I want to briefly just talk about your list, because your list was threw I think everyone
yeah.
for a bit of a loop.
Love that.
In a great way, because you're right. Like we have such a small army pool right now.
Four
We
from a
have
character
what
is
12 or
5.
13 data sheets, I think. Four or five of them exactly. One of them we have a Legends character, which is just still so funny to me. We have like so little data sheets, but of course we get one Legends character, which is just a great model. Like that call model is sick. But I really feel like you threw what a lot of competitive players thought a like comp Votan list looks like. So if we could just briefly, we don't have to go through like all the rules and like go through too deep into it, but let's just go over, I think, just the architect of your list and like why you thought, or why you think, maybe you might still think. Oh my god, my cats are knocking stuff off. I'm gonna let you start explaining. My cats are knocking
You're
things
good.
off my counter. I just want to hear about like your brief, just like mentality
Yeah, like
about
I will
your
start
list, and, like
basically
what's in it.
maybe with like the idea how I came to this list, and this was like in June about, and I think mostly all voting competitive players I played like the 6 Sagittor list, 10-man squad of half guard, no modifier. It was all the same, and like I played against Necrons Wraiths, where I had big problems killing them completely. I mean, of course you can, but it was like this kind of meta where voting, in my opinion, really start to struggle because Sagittors don't do reliable damage. And hackathons without something in it are really bad because, okay, you can shoot a bit, maybe you hit a 4-up, but to be. Oh, you lost me? Oh, sorry.
1 second, Tim. I think
It's
we
back?
lost you.
It's back.
Oh, there we go.
You're
We're
good.
right back.
Continue.
Yeah. The last thing we got was Sagittar's
Yeah,
unreliable and
that's
Hecaton's
basically.
2
So
up,
like
4 up.
my approach was like, okay, I want to have a reliable damage unit, and I looked at the codex and I was like, hey, we have berserks. They do actually quite a lot of damage. Okay, they only move 5, but inside a hackathon, 10-man squad, move 8, can charge. And the main part is now we actually can do damage in shooting and in melee, and we also quite terrifying in both lines because with the tokens. And like this was how the basic list was started, and this is how I built it around like 2 hackathons, 20 berserks, and at this point I started to experiment like more bikes, less bikes, more Sagittors. Like there's I think now 4 or 5 versions from their list. Yes.
I just want to make
No
sure,
problem.
and forgive me, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like I have to make sure that I and others heard that correctly. Did you say 2
Yes, of
hecatons and
course. It's
20
hammer time.
berserks?
It's hammer time.
Madman. Love that. Now, are you splitting those? Is it
No,
just two by
you
10,
cannot.
or are you
You
doing
cannot split
2
them. It's
5
like
cans at any point? Oh,
yes,
see, it's good for everyone to
and
know.
no problem.
Wow,
Sorry, everybody.
2
And
by 10. That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh, the 2x10 berserks, right?
Yeah.
It is
And now
truly,
you have
yeah,
basically
it's
this
mean.
brick from
It's very
Hackathon
mean.
with a 2-up save, AOC cover, and be like, okay, not many armies can actually kill this quite easy. A lot of armies actually struggle even to kill them, and now you have basically like a 15-inch
Yes.
threat range from this model where you say, okay, I cannot stand because the berserks will come out, have a 7-inch charge, what you will do with a CP roll, and whatever they touch. I think like C10s are one of the things they cannot kill reliable, but there's not much that actually doesn't die to this unit.
Right, but also like it can't. I think it does an auto kill maybe then because the half damage. But 3 damage is a wonderful break
Totally.
point for having damage and -1 damage, because that means if you are damage 2, suddenly you need 4 successful fails on Deathwing Knight. If you're damage 2, you need like triple that for a Satan. So damage 3 to damage 2 is so nice for having a -1 damage. It is so good. It's hard. It's still hard, but like it's such a better break point than like the punches.
Totally,
on,
and also if you
Hearthguard,
look like in a
for
lot of
instance, yeah.
models, if they start to have Pheno Pains, you have a lot of models have 11 hit points or so, where like the 2 damage start to really hurt, but the 3 damage is kind of nice because you say, okay, 9 to 12, so 1 Pheno Pain can go through, maybe 2, who knows, and especially with the situation that you can
Yes.
say now, okay, here's 32 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, everything, or on 2s, and then have AP 4, so everything that doesn't have an invul is nearly dead, and you can
Yes.
even say, okay, if you want to AOC, do that before I do my shit, because the wording is stupid there, but this is something special there, something else. But yeah, in the end, and then you look at the point, it's 200.
I can only imagine that when you
Yes.
get into combat with those and you make those charges and you start telling someone, hey, it's going to be like 32 attacks, that they kind of
Y-
go slack jawed a little bit.
In every game I had
Oh,
at the
truly.
World Championship, the players were like, I make the first 10, I make the second 10. They were like, you're not finished. I'm no, 12 more to come. And they all are like, what the fuck?
Wait a second. I need it now. Now you got me tripping. What is the wording of
No.
armor contempt? Is armor contempt not?
Yes. But the
select
problem is
models,
I don't know the exact wording of the stratagem, but it says in the fight phase you can do the AP. So as example, you could actually argue about if you are the phasing player, okay, I will do it after your AOC, or like as example, because it's in the fight phase, you can also start of the fight phase. Berserks get the bonus AP, so you have this in fight on death, where the enemy cannot even do AOC against. It's like
very interesting.
See, that's the funny thing about like competitive like play of that level. It's like I'm not even thinking that far ahead that might even be a possibility.
And it's one of those things that having that little bit of nuance, that's a big separation.
It's a big separation.
It's part of what we're having by having a text-based game. We're going through stuff. Please, folks, keep in mind we also had the slate where Armor of Contempt in some ways also just got modified. So make sure you're reading about everything.
Different.
But it's a very interesting part of Warhammer, and things like that. Just because I like to be certainly clear about them. That's something that I think is really cool about Warhammer, that it's like, hey, actually, if you pay attention to this thing, it's not the fight phase when this is happening anymore. This is technically all these other little things. That helps level you up in Warhammer to make sure it's like, hey, this is like a unique way that you can use this unit. And for the longest time, I'll own it. I've been an anti-berserk guy. I always was. I wasn't a huge fan of them.
A lot of people were.
Absolutely.
Understandably.
But
I don't think the models are as cool. I think it's understandable. I think the models are like, quite frankly, aren't as good as a lot of like some of our other few ranges. I think painting them could be annoying. I get it. Like,
But I gotta give credit where it's due. And you found a way to use them in a way that's absolutely fantastic. Because the last time I played with my Votann was, I think about 3 months ago or so ago. I was helping do tournament prep. And I was playing against one of my Custodes teammates. And I brought a triple Hecaton Land Fortress list, but I didn't have any Berserks. In the moment those Custodes, which always catch you off guard, as soon as they got into melee with them,
Yeah.
I had nothing. There was nothing
Yeah.
I could do, and it was game over. I will
Yeah.
say we did have the hilarious result where I had one hecaton explode, and then it did mortals and exploded my other hecaton,
That
which
hurts.
that was hilarious in
You
itself.
gotta love
But
it. You-
they had no way of defending themselves, and maybe against Custodes, those berserks could have been useful to me.
Truly, I think against a lot of things. Against a lot of things, berserks. The indirect is hilariously enough. Like Tim was telling me some really funny stuff. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything on his, but he was telling me some really funny stuff with his plays
I
with
can't wait.
the mole launchers, and I think not to mention a lot of armies right now hate being slowed. A lot of armies, Custodians are going to hate being slowed. Death Guard, if we see like I really don't think anyone's going to play like a heavy Terminator. Maybe they will, but I think that they will really hate being slowed. Any Deathwing Knights are still going to hate being slowed. Like I think those are still a really big deal.
So, yeah, very, very cool. Do we want to go into any of the specific matches as we went through the tournament with the results?
I think,
Do you have any highlights?
I think a nice thing, Tim. I think
Yeah.
I think we can go into that. I would really like to hear, Tim, like what your mentality was specifically on which matches you wanted and which matches you didn't want, and then how some of that kind of played out.
So just a
at
quick
Worlds,
rundown,
you know.
because I think talking about the Worlds would be a totally 2-hour talk alone, because it was such a big event. So basically in my
Yeah,
group,
exactly right.
I had one matchup I didn't want to happen. This was against Sisters, because Sisters have the power to kill you, but the Sisters player didn't know how this list works, and also I think it was on day one, it was like the layout where basically the whole middle is completely closed up, so it was super easy for me to go over that. And besides that, everything was I don't want to say easy, but like the matchups, I had Grey Knights that cannot kill Hackathons, I had Black Templars that can kill them in melee, but then Berserks come out and you're dead. And at last I had Eldari, and here we can just give you a little peek about Berserk indirect shooting, because I know that my one friend here really likes that. The Berserk's indirect, if you have a Scourge's unit as example. And the Berserk's indirect with sustained tattoos for CP kill that unit on average. It's 2d6, so you have 7 shots on average, +2 for blast because you have 2 models, +2 because the wording from the Berserk says big bases gets +1 attack characteristics. And this is not just for melee, this is for shooting as well.
I never once.
Yeah, it's really silly.
Never thought about that.
Why would you? Because you're not going to look at that and be like, you're not going to probably just read it. You just hear +1 attacks. Okay, great. I have them all, 3 attacks, 4 attacks. Awesome. Nah, it just says +1 attacks. That's also your shooting.
I'm so used to the world where we were just not even taking the big mole launcher base.
Oh, baby.
That's very...
So now we have 7 shots from them,
so
basic.
Nice.
+2, so we are by 11 shots. Hitting with sustained tattoos basically on 1s. Or on 2s, let's could argue, but like you should do your 8 to 10 hits, and then you're wounding on 2s because you're toughness 3 +1 to wound. So you have your 8, 9 wounds, depending a bit how it goes, and each 3 up he rolls is a death scourge. Yes.
It's so funny.
And indirect
it's so funny.
Crazy useful against all forms of elves.
Especially elves. But also, like, when you think about a lot of things with people in the backline, cultists, sisters, like battles, like, or dominions or battle sisters, whatever. Like, there's so many people put a lot of dumb shit on their backline.
From Imperial Army, basically with Lord Solar in it, because you get so much blast in there. And the even funnier part is here now, Berserk's 24-inch range. Okay, you would say, okay, this is not that many with 5-inch movement. Okay, you put them in Hackathon. Turn 1, you move 10, you get 3 out, plus the 24. So now we have 37-inch range indirect fire. And to be fair, what does the enemy has to kill these Berserks really in shooting? On what doesn't die next turn then? So it's basically like, it's just a win-win for you. And it's things like that people, I think, are not looking into. And this is totally fine because it's a super special thing that you only get when you play it like 100 times or so. But this has actually changed the games a lot from you, because now Eldari is a super easy matchup. I mean, not super easy, but like it's playable because Scourges don't kill everything.
It's easier, right?
Yeah, it's a very powerful use of staging, which is a thing that people in a competitive environment need to make sure they're paying attention to, and having access to that. You played to the meta. You made choices for that, and you were able to deal with that. And I think it was really a really smart use of resources.
Truly, and such a it's both fun, but also like there's nothing that I think a lot of people hate more than being like, okay, my backline is safe. Wait, no, my backline's not safe, right? So I think that really forces them to think so much differently when they go into a game and you have to be like, oh, I'm deploying my cultists on the point, and you're like, well, hey, just heads up, I could technically shoot this indirect, and I will kill them. And then they have to be like, wait, so I have to pull back even more and pull. It just forces people to. Whenever you're forcing your opponent to go backwards, you're doing a great job, in my opinion. And I think that some little things like that really
Totally,
do that.
and I'm saying the other point, it's
yeah.
the main part in this list, because if you play half guard, the main problem I think is always, okay, you have the 9-inch deep strike, and let's be real, 90% of the games you want to rapid ingress them, because you want to be able, you rapid ingress, you can charge, shoot, so you get at least value out of them. But with hackathons of Berserks, you don't need to do that anymore, because hey, I drive up, I'm already like half the board, depends a bit like how much I can go forward without having problems. Like my unit that can charge is already there. It doesn't cost me the CP. I am not like locked down to have sustained tattoos, AOC, all of this unit because it cost me so much points.
Right.
Like this is at least my approach, and right now it works. And
no, I mean it's a good approach too.
Yeah, I mean, and like we said, you built to tackle those other lists well. Are there any ones that you felt were going to pose a specific difficulty to you? Or is there anything you didn't want to have to play against at all?
Didn't at all. Tau, like now with the data slit, not anymore because no 3-inch deep striking melter dudes. T2 totally huge.
Huge.
I think let's just talk like I would say 2 to 3 minutes about the games that I lost. I played once against the special Ironstorm list from the Swedes, Jesper, the team captain from the national team. Amazing game, by the way. This was one of the hardest, but not even the hardest game, because he has the shooting power and the range to outrange me and kill me. And like this is the things we vote on really hate. And then 2-up save, AOC, old AOC to be fair, but like at this point it was super hard. And like I had quite a hard time there. And I don't want to blame it in the end of the dices, but like if a hackathon doesn't explode and kill 4 units from my army, I win this game. Or if I make 1 battle shock test from 4, but happens in the end. But like this is one of the games where you actually start to have problems, because you are still quite heavy reliable on tanks, and hackathons can take a beating, but also not that much. And once the Berserks are out there, let's be real, they stay where they are. That's it. It's not like that they will take super crazy charges. And then the other thing, guard, and guard was really special because we all know, okay, guard will probably be the winner, or at least I think in the top 16 we had 8 guard players or 6, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, guard
and I was like, honestly, the guard matchup for Wotan isn't bad, because yes, he has the damage, he can kill, but in the end, it's only tank commanders that can kill hackathons quite reliable, and it's still multi-melted wound on 5s, and you have basically still 4 or 5-up saves against it. Of course, he can stack it up, but it's like if he comes forward to shoot the multi-melters, he's in charge range for the berserks. It's like it can work, it doesn't need to work. And I won one game against one of the US guys pretty hard. Like he couldn't even get out of his deployment zone. That was funny for me, not funny for him. And second one was the one I lost against, again, the Swedes. Maybe they even know I think they know my list. Like this was the only 2 matchups where I don't need to basically tell them what my berserks are doing. And that was basically like one tank commander kills hackathon, second one kills berserks. Bit unlucky, but can happen, of course. And like then it was like an upward battle, and lost us in the end. So it's in the end, it's armies that can deal with your hackathons are a problem, because then you cannot play dump. Let's say it like that, because then you actually, on the one side, you can say, okay, I play chill now, but then it depends a lot on the map if you can play chill because of bikes and all this shit. And if like the map is open or he has the range, it starts to get really annoying to actually do something against it.
Yeah, truly. I think that kind of hits the nail on the head. Armies that can outrange us and that can actually kill hackathons are our biggest baddies. Ironstorm is very difficult because with Lancers, with Reapers, dude, even the Thunderhawk gunships, like speeders, even like there's a lot of things that have las guns that are like 72-inch range and that can actually pop hackathons, which they're difficult. Like it requires a lot of thought. One of my teammates actually plays Ironstorm, and it is kind of annoying to play against because if you misplay, if like you thought something was safe and it's not, that thing is probably just dead, right? Yeah. Ironstorm is a funny one. Yeah. I'm actually curious, really quick, because going earlier, like not long ago, you said that Sisters was a scary matchup for you too. Why was Sisters in the moment? Obviously now Sisters are
the problem was mainly
dead,
like especially against Bringers of Flame. He just, if he gets like first turn and first drop, so like his emulators can scout basically. I think he has like a threat range of 27 inch or something like that, and it's like so much
Yeah,
melter
pretty much. Yeah,
shots.
something like that.
He has the AP bonuses, and each shot that gets through, it's basically a 6. So it's like he can pop us really easy, and then when they start
Yeah,
to see,
fair.
okay, we have exorcists, it gets super hard because once again you have the
Oh yeah,
range,
I
you
didn't
have
even
the
think about the
AP
Exorcist
addition,
deal.
you
Yeah,
shoot every indirect. I mean, of course, on average, I think 3 exorcists doesn't kill a hackathon even close. But if you fail 3 or 4 dices and he has 2 or 3 6s there, and the hackathon only has it's dead, it's like each time you
that's a
play a
lot.
gamble, and also Morval will only
Yeah,
die if he allows me to kill it. Like if he doesn't say you can get it, then you
right.
have like the Temple Sister squad with the flamers that the Overwatch is killing the berserks. I mean, not killing them all, but like killing half of them and taking the
It could. I mean, that
terrifying.
Seraphim Overwatch is, especially if you have the captain. Yeah, that's fair. I
Mhm.
actually didn't even think about all. See, like I feel like on paper, I'm like, oh, I feel like Votan probably didn't do bad in the bringers. But then when you add all the combos together, it makes sense between ignoring cover, stacking AP. I mean, yeah, if you shoot an emulator into Hecaton first, give that ignore cover, and then you shoot a castigator, give that extra AP. Then even if you have armor contempt, you're still negated. It's still
Yes,
being negated.
that's
Your
it.
armor contempt is pretty much negated.
Hmm. How were you
Yeah,
feeling
fair.
against Necrons? This is always one that I'm curious about because in one of my last games, Doomsday Arcs just shredded my vehicles, especially in a meta where we were still using things like Sagittars. Did you have any opinions on how the
Uh,
Necron matchup, for example, was? I know that I only ask mostly because with the new detachment coming out, this is going to be something that people have to be
we could
thinking
totally
of.
talk about. I mean, the easiest
It's
thing
so
is
annoying.
basically Necrons. Don't be afraid. Like Doomsday arcs are a joke. I mean, you cannot
Based.
respect that. In the end, you need to think about, okay, the Doomsday Arc will shoot you. This is fine because he needs at least 2 Doomsday Arcs to kill a hackathon, at least more like 3 or then something else. And then like your brain needs to say, okay, then I kill these, and then I have one more hackathon to go because bikes with sustained tattoos kill one nearly. It's like he lives with 1 to 2 HP or not, but it's like really close. And then you have like the other shots, and when the Doomsday arcs are
Close,
gone,
yeah.
then you have basically. I mean, you don't have to, you didn't won the game already, but it's like you're much more point efficiency than he is. And the Doomsday arcs are actually not that terrifying
Yeah.
because on average it's like D6 plus 1, I think, shots, right? Yeah, so like it's 4 shots.
D6 plus one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, he if the like then depends if the king doing the reroll or the AOC. Before he would do AOC, now probably choose the reroll. Who knows in the end? But it's like if he does,
Yeah.
will he really
Right.
do 8 damage? 4 dices can happen, don't need to happen, and it's still like then he actually needs to show something,
Yeah.
and we have the power to push back against it, and
Right.
I think that's the same for the Silent King or everything else. Like you stop need to think about we can kill everything easily. Of course, the Silent King will take a whole turn and our whole melee to kill. A Monolith is also not easy for us to kill. But in the end, it's like we can actually pick the things out we want to kill from the Necrots, and he doesn't have enough shooting to kill everything from our side. And
Sure. That's fair. I agree though.
and
Fuck DDAs.
totally. And when we
Foundationally,
now go to the new
hate Doomsday
detachment,
Arcs.
what I think is the much more interesting part here, it depends a bit on what list. Like I played now 3 times against new detachment already, and the main question is like, will we see a Silent King with Doomsday Arcs and then like 18 destroyers, or and some small shit to do basically actions, or will we see something different? I just played against now 3 times a Silent King, 2 Doomsday Arcs, 3 times Locust Destroyers, and 1 squad of the shooty ones, like the 36 shots with sustained hits on 5s and whatever. I don't know what to. Yeah,
Oh, like
something like
the
that.
Mimic
And
destroyers or
basically,
whatever.
what you do
Yeah,
as a
they're so
Votan
annoying.
is
Yeah.
you say, okay, the Silent King sits on 1 point. That's his point. Who the fuck cares? It's 400 points. Yes, maybe you throw a
Right.
Sagittor
It's
in
gonna
there to
live
deny
there.
the points there.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, and on this point now, I have a Sagittor with warriors in. Please kill that. Because now it starts to be annoying because one Doomsday
Right.
Arc, does he kill a Sagittor? Who knows? Like he still needs to get 3 through. Then he needs to get something else to still kill the warriors. And like against the new Necrons, you basically can play really easy the point play. Or on the other side, if it's like a more open map and the Silent King can always shoot, doesn't matter on which point you are, you go for the approach that your hackathons will push slightly forward. You say for one turn, okay, hey, you kill one hackathon, it is how it is. Then you use the Sagittor for advancing behind the Silent King, so he cannot fall back anymore with the 6-inch reactive move. And then you shoot, and then 20 Berserks
I like
do
that.
the rest.
Oh, shut up, Tim. That's a great idea.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's a wonderful
It's
idea.
really good.
Yeah, that's great. Right, because then you're forcing them, like, yeah, okay, reactive, but where are you going to go? Because now there's just some
and it's
dumb
like
shit
with
behind
13
you.
inches
Yeah,
movement plus
fair.
3-inch out, you should always be able to at least like cock him where he can go in the end completely, especially if the map is open. And then of course it's still Necrons, it's still like a kind of dice game, but honestly, if 20 Berserks crush in there, what isn't that impossible to do, especially if he wants to be on points. He like 20 Berserks do like 22 damage into him, something like that. And I hope in the Silent King, yeah, something like that.
In the Silent King?
And then it depends a bit
Whoa,
like how the
that's sick.
roads go in shooting, but we have enough shooting to be fair to kill him. This is all under consertion that we kill the spider first, of course. With the spider, everything goes super crazy
Sure,
because
right, yeah.
Philopates.
Right. That is a great approach. I think, man, because it's funny because I feel like before we talked like a couple weeks ago, I really didn't even consider, and I think this is a good thing for a lot of people playing Votann to think about. I didn't really consider the play of advancing Sagittars and getting warriors out to do things, whether it be scoring. You could advance Sagittar and get your warriors out. You could do establish locusts in their backfield because it says they made a normal move when they get out, which great. You could throw a grenade with the warriors because again, it just says they made a normal move. Even though the Sagittar advanced, the warriors made a normal move. So doing things like grenade, like scoring, awesome. And then just for the play of disruption is huge. Like just being able to disrupt whenever you can control your enemy's movement, I feel like that is such a big deal. Before I mentioned it, with like having to move backwards on things. And even in this case where you're like, you have a reactive, you can't go anywhere. You're stuck. Like that's a huge play, especially like keeping like centerpiece models, something like the Silent King stuck in a place that can be the game very easily, right? Like that's a pretty big, I think, thought shift of how we approach like sometimes like, am I throwing the Sagittar Warriors away? Probably, but he's probably now just thrown his Silent King away, which will I dump, would like technically 150 points compared to like 400 points. I think every day,
And also
all day,
like
every
the
day,
main
really.
thing that Votann can do right now, especially if you look at the last and also this data slate, everything gets more expensive. All the big armies that are up there get more and more expensive, and we still have so much shit to throw around. Like just if these 20 Berserks are out, so much army struggling with killing them, because I see a lot of comments online. They say, nah, they will just die like flies. They can do nothing. But in the end, they still have 5 up Feel No Pains. This is a 22 wound squad, so with the Feel No Pains 5 up, we go more like 30 wounds. You can still go to ground for 6 up invul. It's not that bad to in the end. Like you can survive some there, and with the fight on death, you say each model that basically goes in there to kill me immediately is a good chance that you die. I mean, of course, it's 4 up, but still. It's like you can overload the enemy pretty hard with stuff, and in the end, even if only 3 or 4 Berserks are left, it's still mostly enough to kill 9 out of 10 things you want to kill.
100. It is what that. I just want to do a quick. I want to get into the data slate, but I played a game 2 or 3 nights ago against Black Templars, and in the middle behind a ruin, he had infiltrators, sword brethren, eradicators, and one of the bigger tanks, maybe a lancer or something. I charged my berserks. I need a 5 to get into contact, and because that he did some funny stuff against the wall, I could get the engagement behind the wall. I rolled an 11, did a crazy slingshot. I had 3 berserks go into the infiltrators, 4 berserks go into the sword brethren, and then a few went into the eradicators. I was able to tag everything. I killed every single unit with that 1 berserk squad in the middle, which was because they were all also my double token squads. So I was able to, and I did extra AP buff. So there was no saves in the eradicators, no saves in the infiltrators.
But this doesn't how it works.
The sword brethren only had 1 token.
To stop you there, it's like the AP thing is only you pick against 1 target, not your unit. You cheated on stream.
No, I cheated. I cheated. I have to tell him this. I actually have to tell him this because that was such a big deal. Now I also have to. Oh my god! It really only says one target.
Twos is on
Don't
the
do this to
unit,
me.
and then you get it against everything. And the AP is only, at least if I'm not stupid, after playing like 400 games, yes, it's only against one.
One enemy unit. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm literally typing this out to him right now because I've never felt.
But to be
like such a
fair, I
piece of
know
shit.
that 90% of the
GG,
Votan
I
players probably
cheated.
do that, and nobody will question it because they were all like.
No, now, different story. Now, really throwing this out to everyone. Read your I think this is actually a really good point to make. That I feel like when you know the rules of this game, like when you understand the rules more than like probably like you're anyone else, like that's how you really win. Like understanding just what things do sets you up for success. And Jesus, I can't
Okay,
believe.
let's make one more.
I
Let's
feel
make
so
a little
dumb.
quiz here. Can you do a placing glare turn 1 if you start the game? Yes,
If you
all right,
start
you
the
can.
game, no, because your opponent doesn't control it, and it's the same thing with like, what is it, like a blood type? Not blood type.
Yes,
the World
yes.
Leaders one. There's a few. It says specifically you have to control it, and if you haven't got to that part yet, no. So turn 1, if you go first, you cannot do a
Just
praise and glare
checking
because your
here.
opponent doesn't control a point.
But yeah, right, totally right. It's like this is like the two main things I know a lot of Votan players play wrong or not right. It's like, yeah, it's some special things again.
And that's part of Warhammer too, right? With all these things, there's always a little thing. It's very easy to get little things wrong. So, with these moments, I think it's important to take it just like Mr. Pastrami did here. You notice you made a mistake. All right, cool. I'm just going to tell the guy. Then you both grow and they can both catch it in the future. And then we can be a little embarrassed on the pod and tell you all about it.
Hey, listen, you know what? I got a full-time job. I got 3 cats. You know what I mean? I'm lucky to even be playing, let alone understanding as much as I can and do.
No, but that's all. You go.
Oh, sorry, GP, go ahead. I was gonna say some dumb shit, dude.
I was just gonna say,
Please keep going.
this is all really great info, and I think this is useful for people to hear. Do you have any other big highlights or plays that you think you made throughout the event that you think are worth talking about? Any big moments? Did you have one where you smiled?
I think against like my 7th game against Astra that I played was one of the best games I ever had because especially when you play against Astra Militarum and you have like first drop, first turn, as Votan player you can pretty much, especially with this 20 Berserks, say your enemy you will not move in this game anymore because turn 1 you drive forward, you have like this 1 or 2 choke points where you basically flot in and then you advance your hackathons and next turn you do that again, maybe with 6 bikes or depending on your advance rolls, and you just be like, okay, and if anything wants to now go outside of your deployment zone, you are on like 5-inch charges of my berserks. That's it. This is like, I would say the most important part with Votan is don't be afraid. Like if you see that there could be something where you can push in, do it, because in the end we are so cheap in points. Even if like something fails, who the fuck cares? As long as that doesn't your whole army. Like when you lose a strategy maybe for nothing. Does it hurt? Of course, but it's not like that it break our bone. Like, just don't lose your hackathons with the Berserk stupid. This is the only thing I can say here.
I think that's a good play. I think a good point because I always want to play fast, aggressive armies. Fucking World Leaders. I played Bringers of Flames. I played Sisters and Votan. Before this, I played 6 Sagittar list, obviously, with some Hearthguard, and I was very aggressive with that. This, even though I feel like I have less things in this list, because spoiler alert, I've been playing Tim's list since his run because it's 1, very fun, and 2, very good. I appreciate the list because I look at it, and when you told me how aggressive you played, I was at first like, this doesn't make sense, but he's better than me, so I'm going to trust it. And then I've been doing the same thing, and it's been great almost every time. I was telling Tim like I was doing some shit where I was charging bikes into guard tanks for like multiple, and kept guard in deployment for like multiple turns, just like because they're not killing tanks, they're not killing my stuff in melee. Like it's just like that aggressiveness. I feel like we're kind of missing in our mentality with playing this army right now, and we have the tools to be aggressive, whether it be Armor Contempt, which different now, or just the threat of berserks alone are enough to like keep someone from wanting to go into the middle. Like truly, the threat of them scares a lot, and rightfully so. 32 attacks hitting on 3s, most likely wounding on 2s against almost anything except for a vehicle is huge, you
Totally,
know?
totally. I think this is also the main problem a lot of Votan players have. Like they play, even with the 630 list, they play super aggressive, go for the scout move, advance, scout move, and then shoot. But they always forget, hey, you can still charge. And in the end, if you're anyway up in front there, just go for
Yeah.
charge. Just like make the screen like 2 or 3 inches more on his side. Just like move block him more. Do whatever you can because the thing is already dead anyway. Who the fuck cares if it like is a melee then with a Liam Russ or to be fair, I would even go so far just charge like 5 melee marines because they will not kill this one. But hey, it's one unit less he can do for actions, and you're blocking him even harder. It's like Wotan right now, at least if your game plan can work like that, of course. It's basically you have like the first two turns basically are like a fucking plan. You just say, okay, charge, move block here, I move forward. Next wave, berserks can come in, and then you say, and now enemy, think about it. What are you gonna do? Like I have my first two turns done in 20 minutes, and now you have like a super big problem where you need to think about how you go for that.
Yeah. Well, I think also to your point with charging things, especially charging bikes, I think if you do like some quick, like very minor mental math, if I charge these bikes in this unit, can they wipe it flat out? If they can't, what are the benefits of gain from that? If one of them is, does this melee unit I'm charging into, do they have a buff when they charge? Do they have any extra abilities they get in the fight phase, in their own fight phase, whatever? So I think, and then also, am I denying them from moving? Am I denying them from scoring? Like any of those things, I think is a big deal. And I think since we talked last time, and now hopefully people listening to this start to kind of get some of the same idea. If you can keep something like Guard or Iron Storm or like literally whatever, if you can keep them stuck in their spot, that's a big deal. You get free range of movement on your things that then can't automatically just be wiped off the board next turn and in their turn. You know what I mean? So I think it's a very strong mentality to have is like the aggressiveness. Does my aggressiveness will I lose this in the charge? Will I lose it just sitting here anyway? Like could I potentially get a few wounds off? Because if I don't charge out to this tank, will it just blow this bike squad up anyway? Are they already dead? Cool. Why not charge? Am I going to keep them from moving or scoring? Cool. Charge. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's a very important kind of flip in how we play, especially with bikes. I feel like a lot of times with bikes, we treat them, oh, bless you, buddy. We treat them like,
Yeah,
you know, like a baby in a way, you know, like we really cradle them. I think one squad you can cradle a little bit, but another squad be a little
totally. Like, I
funny
mean, this
with.
is
I
why I
don't know.
play 12 bikes 2x6, because in the end, to be fair, there's 2 bikes you want to have live, and maybe the ignore cover guy, but in the end, the rotary guns are the main thing. And as long as we don't play against predators that have damage 3 or forge fiends, it's actually quite hard for enemies to remove this because demolisher shoots in there, okay, go for it, but you still need to roll 3s in the damage. Less cannons shoot in there, okay, there you only need 2s, but
Yeah.
it's still like it's not that easy to actually remove them that easy, and especially in melee, like there's not many units that have damage, a lot of damage 2 or 3 attacks that you would charge, and that can also kill you then. And if you say, like I said,
Yeah.
you just go on 5 marines, like jump pack marines, they will never kill them, like not even close, but like you just plop them up and you get
Right.
more movement, and especially because the units are so big, you can actually get quite hard swing charges or move blocks where he doesn't move anymore from his side.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
Hmm.
Yeah, man, I think it's a fun list. I'm really into it. I want to talk about the data slate, and I want to talk after what you think about the list still going forward with this data slate. But we just had a big old data slate yesterday.
Wednesday,
No,
you
2
say
days
Wednesday
ago.
it drops.
Wednesday. What was it? Wednesday, which is funny. Usually Thursdays, but Games Workshop throwing us on our toes right now. And a lot of stuff changed. Huge stuff changed. For one, sisters are all but dead. Well, I hilarious enough, I saw a funny list today that is like, okay, don't use miracle dice. You're just using tanks and stuff. Cool. Like actually not too terrible. Whatever. All but dead. You're right. A lot of big armies went up in points. Thank goodness. Especially like Ultramarine Gladius went up in points. Thank God, because I feel like not many people are playing them right now. But God, they're so good. And then the 2 big things changed that I think are very big for us. One, no more 3-inch deep strike, which is I think massive because Retcod sucks again. It sucks to play against. Hypercrypt sucks to play against. For us, I'm saying specifically. Well, I mean, a lot of people like 3-inch deep strike sucks for anyone. I don't really care who you are. 3-inch deep strike going away. and then also armor contempt changing to a single activation per phase, not lasting the whole phase. I am shooting this Lancer at your Hecaton. I armor contempt. Now only that Lancer is getting -1 AP. Nothing else after that point, which is both great for us against armies we had trouble with. A little bad for us. I think better for us than bad for us. And
I
I'm
know
curious
that
to
I
see
would
what you kind
like
of think about
start
that.
like a little fight here in the community, especially with like German community, because we have like one of the best Wotan players that plays in Germany. He still says Terminators are the way to go, and I'm always like, no, there are too many points. And like he just texted me after this data sled, okay, no, you're right, because now they cannot survive anymore.
Truly.
Totally.
Yeah, huge before, but
I
now
think
different. Yeah.
let's like the first thing, AOC. Okay, AOC on hackathons, amazing. We don't need to talk about it. Gives them such reliability to survive everything. But let's be fair, it isn't like that now armies that couldn't kill hackathons can now kill them. It's like in the end, Grey Knights still cannot kill them,
Right.
at least if they don't 3 libby roll like 6s and everything explodes and whatever. Like a lot of shit needs to get down there. Tau will still kill us, even with AOC. Before we
Yeah.
still died against Hammerheads because 6-up save. Hey, who the fuck cares? Hammerheads kill us. Marines is a bit
Right.
different now, of course, but Iron Storm could always kill us. Okay, now then probably need one less tank to do that, but it doesn't
Right.
matter. Guard can now kill us better. Okay, but like overall, like the armies that could kill us can now kill us better, but the armies that cannot kill us doesn't matter. And on the other side, like the huge advantage we have now is our whole army, except of Sagittars and Hecaton Big Gun, is AP1 ignore cover or just AP1. And now our whole army gets such a big damage
Yeah.
buff. Like, let's talk about Ironstorm, like one of the main things I would say people are right now talking about, especially with the double O +1 to wound. A Vindicator goes out, and he has a 2-up save, AOC, cover, and smoke. Who the fuck do we kill this? In shooting? Yes, maybe, but it's like so hard, like so much damage will just pop down.
Yep.
Now our bikes actually kill them really easy. Grey Knight's the same. It's like basically we get such a huge damage buff because AOC is it not worth to go anymore. Also because, I mean, yes, Gladius will still do it probably because he has like 2 CP from Calgar, 1 free CP from what's it called, Gilliman. So it's like probably he will do it, but
Gilliman.
like
Yeah.
every other army that doesn't have that much CP will maybe don't do that. So I think for us this is a huge buff. And
Yeah.
just a little side note, because okay, now we need to play a little bit more safe, but this is doable. And in the end, the hackathons are still the only job they have is basically being a transport for the berserkers, and this is what they can still do. Like,
Right. Truly, there were quite a few games where my hackathons weren't even shooting at things because they were sitting behind points to be threat range with berserks, and it was good enough. Like truly, it was good enough. Like didn't even need to get them out, nor did I really want them to because they were a safe package that were like because I think a lot of things that are important too, like if you're playing WTC and you have the 2-inch engagement token rule, you can't do that against vehicles, right? That's only infantry can still do against vehicles.
It's like
I
in
always
the
forget.
end,
There's a
if
rule
you
there.
are able to make the charge and it's like blocked because it's 1.1 away from the wall, the vehicle, and you have a 40mm base, you can still be able to fight it because it's like 2 inches then, but you cannot basically go for a vehicle because it's still like only 1-inch range for the vehicle. You have like some crazy wordings and rule breakdowns there,
Yeah.
but in the end, it's only for infantry most likely.
Right. I'm actually playing I'm playing a GT this weekend that's in New Jersey that is WTC rules, and I always forget the token stuff. The whole 2-inch thing is so funny to me because I feel like now in mostly Games Workshop tournaments, they have ruled that the 2-inch is not a thing. They clarified that at Worlds, I think, and now I think that is starting to become a precedent with Games Workshop. But still, WTC is like we still have 2-inch engagement. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. But that's not really a Deadly thing. That was just something I remembered about. I didn't mean to derail us here a bit, but.
With the other changes, speaking of some things that people might have to get used to, let's talk about Space Marines and them getting access to double oath now. Do you foresee that being challenging in a world where we're still running hackathons? Is there
It
anything you're
depends a
preparing
lot,
for
like
in that regard?
one saying how the wordings will be. Let's as example, I see 2 Marines list right now be really clutchy. Vanguard Marines with like the 6-man Centurion squad, and against these AOC change doesn't matter because we still get our AOC against it, but on average they still nearly kill us. It's like 15 or 16 damage. It's like super close. And the question here is more likely, will they get oath in 2 activations? So as example, to get breakdown here, can they say 3 Centurions shooting on the first Sagittar? And if he kills that, does he get the oath for the second Sagittar in the same activation? Like, because there's 2 ways how you could argue right now, and there's no really classification how it goes. But on the
Sure.
on the other side,
That's fair.
if we see the Centurions now, they are dead because.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
They're
I
dead-
think
they're
against
done.
the Vanguard Marines on good terrain we will not have a problem at all. On like really open terrain we still will have a problem like before because he still has the firepower to kill us. And then for the vehicles list it gets super tricky because on WTC terrain I think they will have such a hard time because you have so much tanks now you cannot move them properly anymore. And we can kill them now, actually. Like, it's not like that he says, like we talked before, he puts a Vindicator on top and says, fuck you. It is how it is. Like, for Vindicator, we need to expose 2 hackathons to shoot, and then he kills the hackathons, then we are done. And I think it will be harder in terms of how you get, like, your angles. But on the other side, you can move plot him quite nicely. He still doesn't really has an answer against the Berserks, at least in melee. Because everything he has in melee costs much more points and dies against the Berserks. But yes, of course, it will be harder. No question about it. He can kill us now better. The oath is super strong. I personally think the +1 to wound is maybe a bit too much, but
Dude, too much. Why is that there? Why did they didn't?
very good.
Yeah, I don't even. Dude,
You know,
+1 to wound, double oath.
It's worth
Ugh.
adding contextually. We're passing this judgment. We've only seen half of the detachments, right? And we haven't seen the Votan one yet. So the Votan one could be interesting.
I can't imagine. You know, with Grotmus has been a really cool, like, cute thing. It's been a really fun addition to. I feel like we are. I don't think things feel necessarily stagnant. We are in one of the most balanced eras of Warhammer that's ever existed, which is so funny to me. And I think that's why some people feel stagnant, which understandably so. And like, not everyone has their rules yet. Not everyone, you know. So Grotmus has been a fun little addition. The balance is pretty tipped to like some things being way better than others, which is what it is. Personally, I'm just like, I'm excited to see what Votan may bring with Grotmus. I can't imagine it's gonna be better than Oathband. Oathband is just so good. When we get the book, different story, because hopefully we'll have like 4 or 5 detachments, right? I can't imagine. I think they're still, unfortunately, approaching Votan with a lot of trepidation because almost like the sins of the father. In 9th edition, they gave us a really, 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 really good book, and people got upset by that. And so I think they're approaching Votan with little brakes pumped. So I would like to. I'm curious.
I'll be a little bold here, and I'll round table this one really quick, and we won't spend too much time on it. But Tim, if you could wish list something that you'd like to see as the detachment, it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but if there's any little part, what's something you'd like to see after you've achieved what you have with it? What could entice you away from the existing detachment?
It will be super hard because I think, like we talked before, like the 4 judgment tokens, it's I would say 2 things. One thing that is unrealistic and one thing that I actually think is realistic. The unrealistic thing I could think about is we get impermanent AOC. And for
Whoa.
Yes,
like
basically, because this is like still working. And for 1 CP, no rerolls against the target. Like,
okay.
I mean, hilariously enough, that kind of brings some of the flavor we had in 9th.
It's like we go super defensive
a little bit,
but on the other side, we don't get the tokens anymore. And for the things I think are more realistic, I think we could get a Berserker detachment where we get like for 1 CP, we get like the ability to get out of vehicles and charge. Yes.
Oh yeah, like almost like a strat salt ramp. Like
I always said that hackathons should have a salt ramp.
Yeah, already they have like the little thing in front of
there. They already should.
Like,
yep.
They already should.
They have 4 of them technically.
Basically,
they're covered in ramps. I'll go next. So to me, one of the things that I think
every ramp.
Yep, they're huge. I think something to go back to the previous edition, like I think it was GTL. where you had some additional OC and you were able to do bonus judgments. I think that could be interesting. Just the bonus OC itself, because we're seeing a lot more things now that are coming out, like Grey Knights and Necrons, and I think another army are getting things similar to where they're gonna to the demons rule, where they're gonna start like securing areas of the battlefield and having that bonus OC to fight against things. Could be a little interesting, especially on some of our vehicles. I wouldn't mind that. But I agree with you that I think something like Berserk's getting a detachment is probably more likely, if not just because we're going to follow the adage that GW wants to push those models. I don't know if those have been the most impressive models so far in how they've been used for the last few editions outside of your wild success. What do you think?
Imagine there was a Berserk, there was like a Berserk captain or something that gave them advance in charge or reroll charges or, hilariously enough, what I wanted was an assault ramp strat. It's really funny that you mentioned that, Tim, because I think that solves a lot of our slowness problems. If you have Berserks and Satistar, Berserks and Hecaton, you have, or like Hearthguard and Hecaton, whatever, being able to move those things, spend a CP, get them out in charge I think would be really nice. Another thing I think would be really cool is just site-to-site transportation back for deep strike units. So spend the CP.
Yeah, like for the Terminators,
pick one up, put it down. Like that was so.
That used to be so good with.
I think my favorite models actually are the Hearthguard. The problem is that they're really expensive. Even with AOC, I actually didn't. I argue that even with AOC, they were durable, sure, but having just 2 wounds and no actual invuln, they still die. They still definitely die, and there's too many wounds. And if you misplay them in any way, they can just be dead. Truly. Yep. I appreciate that people were playing them to success with being able to save them, but my problem would be I would drop them down. Hopefully they killed something. Hopefully I rapid them into a point and then moved and then killed something and charged. That would be amazing. If any of those things failed, they were then just stuck there. They are just done for the rest of the game. Hopefully they're in a safe spot that they could just hold a point down or something or threaten a point. I don't know. I just didn't really think that for the points that made them worth it. Now, I think if there was some kind of, I feel like they have to give us an uppy downy strat because it was just such a prevalent thing in the last edition. It'd be really cool if we got something like that. I think that would be really nice to make that unit just a little more worth the points.
Like if you could give like your Carl enhancement for uppy downy or so, maybe like something like that. But yeah, I think this is totally more realistic, or like a detachment for the Thunderkin. Because at least I don't know how it is in the USA, but like in the European, I have not played at all. Because to be fair,
no, it's not much really in the
I
USA.
would love a Thunderkin detachment. I have 18 of them. They were painted. I have every weapon magnetized, and I've literally never used them.
I brought them to LVO last year, or technically this year, 2024. That's funny to think about, because they changed the wording. Now it's officially changed with how Grim Demeanor worked. I brought a bunch to LVO, and I was just like, oh, I come in off the board because I feel like there's no any reason to start them. They're so fucking slow, and especially on some maps, they're never going to get to the middle, let alone. I start them off the board, I'd bring them in, and then they really didn't do much. So I agree. Like Thunderkin needs some love, which they got some love. The data slayed the points. They dropped down 5 points. They're 80-point models now, which hilariously enough, I still don't think they're good. There is something to say though about them for the points, their durability, and their actual threat of like maybe a backfield or something like that. Like 3 Thunderkin at 80 points. They're T6, 3 wounds each with Graviton Blast. That's actually not so bad. I don't think I would still take that. I don't think I would take anything out to take those things. It is something that I think is a funny little thing to think about. I don't know. Like, do you consider Thunderkin in any way, Tim?
Probably
not, right?
I would
even
consider
with the
them
drop,
if they get like AP Trick No Cover and like 24-inch range, or let's be like a bit unrealistic. Give them anti-vehicle 4 but death wounds.
Worth noting, they literally used to have ignore cover.
Yeah, it's like the main problem. It's
Yeah.
Once again, you have like the package here from 160 points, no, not 180, but you need the Iron Master in there most likely to get like the ignore modifier thing. So now we are talking about a package for 200 something points, 200 I think 20 or so, and with that there's not a tank that they actually can kill if the enemy isn't stupid. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah, they're almost always gonna have cover. you're almost coming off the board, so no matter what, the tank will be positioned behind some kind of terrain. It's not really, yeah, it's definitely not there yet. It would be nice to see, or at least some kind of like suit detachment where it's not just for Thunderkins or anything with like, well, I guess no, they're the only one
No,
with the keyword
it's
exosuit.
like
No
in
one
the
else has
end,
it.
I
Well, no
think
one
what
yet. I don't know. We
besides of
could.
like new detachment rules, whatever would help Photon the most would be new models, because like in the end, it's like we still have like a model pool that
100%.
is dead, and if like the core things start to be bad, you are really bad, and it would help a lot if like as example in the kill team we have like this little jump dude. Give us a warrior unit that has melee with jumps, like maybe exosuits with
Give us
melee.
that.
Give hackathons a possibility that they can transport 6 exosuits, then maybe you pick them in there. Or just say the 4 ecogs don't take 4 places,
Yes,
something like that. It's like so much shit in our army looks
I know.
stupidly done for like, yeah, totally.
Anti-synergistic. There's a lot of anti-synergistic. There's a lot of things that don't compute with what we have. I will say though, unfortunately, I think when you have a low model count, it is hard to balance that because anything could just then be cracked. Anything could just be absolutely busted. I think they always approach low model count armies with a little bit of like scared, like a little scaredness, I guess, which I understand from a little point. I'm curious now with the data slate being out. We haven't even had it for more than a couple days, I know, but this does shake up a lot of things for us. Do you feel with the data slate being out? I know that you'll probably need some more reps in the next week or so to like really feel this, but what do you feel like this leave? What is the position that leaves for us? Does this? What is this? And I don't want you to get too specific in case you have any big events coming up. I don't want to like give spoilers away that might mess you up. But do you feel this? Your list stays the same? Do you feel like there's a new weakness or there's a new? I think you hit a little bit. We have to probably play it a little bit more cagey, maybe. But yeah, I'm curious what you think. Where this leads
So,
us
I mean, at
now with this
first, I
data
would
slate.
say there's two totally different opinions in terms of the German matter and the rest of the world. Because in Germany right now, they hate me or they love me. You could argue about the same, but it's like we have like a big Discord, like I think every country has, and like the Grey Knight players were like, did Tim paid someone that AOC get nerfed so he can now kill us even easier? It's like it's quite funny, but yeah, I would
Savage,
say
dude.
this list still needs to get around in the world, and I think a lot of Votan player will get a lot of people basically winning the games because the enemy is not prepared for this kind of list. But now let's talk about the people know the list, they know how this thing works, and we don't talk about some crazy stupid terrain that nobody plays anymore. So we talk about Games Workshop terrain and WTC terrain. We will definitely need to play a bit more cagey. Maybe it's right now even a discussion to play 18 bikes, not just 12 anymore, because bikes got such a big buff, in my opinion, with the AOC gone. But
Sure.
overall, I think the list will not really change because I still have everything in my list, but I want to have. I did, like I said, I did now a few games already with the new sled.
Right.
Not many, but like 2 or 3 now. It doesn't feel bad. You need to see like how big this marine problem actually will be because yes, of course, like seeing 10 tanks or so, it's super hard. But on the other side, it's like 10 tanks to move is also really hard, and you can move block and all the shit. So let's see. And especially because, like we talked about, Sisters is dead, Tau is dead, or I mean, not dead, but like the Cadre thing is dead. Um,
Hampered.
it's
Yeah.
like
Their Condra's
Necrons,
hampered.
we
Yeah.
will see, but like Hypercrypt was much harder for us to play against than this detachment because I cannot stop you from getting Doomsday angles on me if you just go up and down. But I can actually see if you're standing like behind a building, you max go 10 plus 36 or so. Like it's actually starts predictable.
Yeah.
GSC nerf, what also is really huge for us because we never had a problem of killing the GSC, but we have a problem because one turn berserks come out, kill something like Aberrant Squad, whatever. Oh, they come back. Okay.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
one, really quick. So, is the perception on your end, or in the German meta and stuff like that, that it was just a straight GSC nerf? Because on our end, and with my team and stuff that we've been talking about, we feel like it might
Uh,
have been almost a buff in some way. GSC being able to reliably always pull these things,
I
it's
would
pretty
talk in the
strong.
completely matter. It's a side grade in my opinion.
Sure,
Because in the
totally
end,
fair.
like you said, now it's like in Teams context, you can now actually plan what they will do. But the enemy can do that as well now. So
Sure,
it's
that's
like
actually a good point.
side
Yeah.
grade. Of course, it is a lot better because you will, like from a single perspective, I think Art of War talks about it as well. It was like 9 out of 10 games you win 20-0 because more than half of your stuff or more is coming back. Then you have that one game where you didn't roll a single 4-up and your whole army just dies. And I think, of course, with that, it's like
Yeah.
easier, but especially for Svotan, it was never a problem of killing him because with 12 bikes, you actually have the firepower to kill everything he has, and you can just like say, okay, Sagitar goes on the point with guys on it. Okay, he comes out, he kills you, I kill him back, and then it was like a super gamble because the Berserks die really fast in this game because hand flamers and all this bullshit. And right now, if you look at it, basically you only have the melee detachment left in GSC that's playable because the big squads are not possible to bring back anymore.
Right.
I think you can bring one big squad back and that's it, right? The 20 minute. It was something like
I
that.
don't remember
So you
actually.
only have the melee squads left, and I mean, yes, of course, Aberrant's still hurt, but Berserks kill them, Bikes kill them, and now you can actually start to say, okay, fuck it, I just go
Right.
all in, I kill everything I see, and then you need to decide what you bring back, and you can start to play around. So I would say it's like a side grade with a little buff in terms of playable, and also a little nerf in terms of randomness. It's like against Sagittars, it's the same basically. Okay,
Yeah.
I shoot in your Liam Russ. On average, I do what 3 damage or so, but I could do 48 if I have a good day.
Yeah. 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 I'm going to a 50-person GT this weekend that have some really good players from the East Coast of America. And I know for a fact there's already been switches to the new Necron detachment and people going back to, not going back to, but like Ultramarines Gladius will be a problem for me, which I think Ultramarines Gladius, I think Ironstorm really sucks for us, but also Ultramarines Gladius is very difficult with the Calgar Company Heroes. They all like just really hard to shift units that can also just punch you to death. And like, if you don't play your melee right, you're just gonna get hosed. So I think Marines are gonna be a big problem. I was thinking, I had a brief moment where I was like, I think maybe I'll put in some Thunderkin, but I don't think they're it. Even though they're cheaper, I don't think they're it. So this data slate is going to be very interesting. I'm really curious to see what the next 3 months go for us. Not even just us, Warhammer in general.
It's one of the things that I wanted to wind us down with the slate and the information we have now. What are your plans moving forward, Dom? Do you have anything that you're working on now? You shaking anything up? You trying to get anything ready? Or do you think you just don't know enough yet?
I'm going to play this GT this weekend with Tim's list the way it is. I'm going to see how I feel against really just, there's a lot of Ultramarines players in my meta. There's a lot of melee players in general in my meta. I don't think I shift off of 20 Berserk just because of how much exists there. I don't know. I really don't know what. It's like kind of a lot of stuff is shaken with AOC and 3 Doom Strike being gone, specifically for us. I mean, that's both big deals for us.
See, I'm in a weird spot where I can confidently say that for now, I'm working on Custodes, which sounds odd, but that new detachment for Custodes is so fun.
Dude.
I got 3 Talamons that I'm waiting to absolutely punt onto a table. Dude, like, hey, okay, deal with 2 up, 4 up. You think a Hecaton's annoying? It's got -1 damage built in. Let's go.
Yeah, and I know. That's like, I actually forgot about Custodes completely with that dread detachment. I think it actually is, especially going through walls.
What about you, Tim?
That sucks.
What do you got on the horizon? Anything you're focused on that you're switching up, or are you waiting? You being more patient than I am.
I will say one thing. I'm really excited for tomorrow for the Orc detachment. And what I'm playing right now, I also played it on like some tournament, like 2 tournaments now. I won them. Dread Mob with Stomper.
What? Shut up!
I do, and
you
I won.
Not bring a Stomper and Dread Mob.
It's like,
Tim, you're like. I feel like you're almost memeing, but like you're not though. Like it's real. Like it's working for you. But that's what I think your attitude about it makes it work so much better because you're like you're not like overly serious about it. But like you play seriously. But like you're like, yeah, I'm playing a Stomp and Dread Mob. I'm gonna beat you with it. What's up? You know what I mean? I think that's such a funny,
it's a good attitude to have with it. Which faction?
So that's
tomorrow?
why I'm like a bit interested what will come.
Orcs.
We will see about. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, both GP and I
No
are
problem.
anti-orc. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Tim. We're
Well, I
both
do like
anti-orc.
them, but God, it's the least serious thing in the game.
I always ask whenever I'm at a tournament and there's like a few people I do. I always turn around and be like, hey, if you're gonna scream, just give me a heads up first. And I never get the heads up, and there's a
Is that a
wob
thing in
right
Germany?
behind my ear.
I can't imagine that the German guys break from the stereotypical decorum and start
We have
screaming
like
at one
one guy
another.
that he was on the World Championship as well. He's like our main orc player, and he's like 2 meter something, bodybuilder, like super pumped up, and he's like, if he screams war, you are deaf for like one turn at least.
That's so funny.
It's such
That's
a
so
popular
funny.
thing in America where just every
Oh my
dad will get out
God.
there and release all of his rage
Every
that he's
dad.
had pent up in the garage.
You're not wrong. It usually is. I feel like the orc player in America is either a 13-year-old kid who's screaming WoW that hasn't hit puberty yet, or it's the dad who has like
Yeah,
a couple kids who's
A
really
literal
tired and has a
plastic
9 to
tote
5.
bin filled with
Yes.
old metal orcs that they just
Yeah.
chuck into it between
Yeah, they're just
games.
throwing it down.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, they'll be, all right, boys, we do it. Like, there's like an English accent that pops out. Well, that's really funny, GP. Thank you. That really worked. That's nice.
No, it's great.
I think
It's the thing to me is I think right now the horizon that we have is very exciting. GW have given us a lot of options, and I'm a big proponent that player agency always leads to better outcomes. So now that we're going to have more total detachments available, even ones like the Drukhari detachment that came out today, which combines with Harlequins, is very cool. It might not be
I
great,
didn't see
but it
today's.
gives a lot
That's
of
fun.
options. The mechanic is wonky but interesting in a way that's not like off-putting. We're going to have a lot of stuff that seems really neat. And I think that variety is going to keep Warhammer in a really interesting spot. And I think 2025 is going to be a really great
absolutely
year for
agreeing with that. I think especially with the new attachments we get now and then next year. To be fair, this is also why I'm saying right now it's a bit of a meme time. Like in Germany, we have like in January, we have like the German finals where it's basically like the 12 best players in Germany play for the best one in Germany total. So like this is one big tournament they still have left for me. But like besides that, it's until February. There's not real big tournaments here. What I'm honestly not that mad about because I want to have a bit of a break as well. And I think we should wait now for the new guard codex. Then Eldari, I think we will not have a great time for 2 months or 3. We will see.
Never has there ever been balanced Eldari.
But
right
overall, I think we will have an
be.
amazing next year, especially with all the new indexes now in there. And I just want to come back one thing that we like talked start of the whole thing here, where it was like, okay, you did something wrong, especially now with like 30 more indexes in there and stratagems and whatever. Like, of course, you can do sometimes you do something that's not right, but like you cannot have everything in your head. Like even I would say good players like me right now, at least if I look at like my back things in the tournaments, I still don't know every faction. I still don't know everything. I basically know my faction with a lot of wordings. And I would say that a lot of people should chill a bit more about it because this is the only thing.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you're upfront about it. I immediately was like, hey, buddy, we just played this game. It was casual, but like he's a good player. I'm a good player. I want to make sure. And I was like, hey, dude, I messed that up. Like just a heads up. I don't think it would change anything, but just heads up, I messed that up. You know, I think that's how you approach it. You mess up, hey,
totally.
I'm sorry.
Just like I said, I think this is like one of the things a lot of people should. I hope a lot of people will do it already. It's just like my whole games I had at the World Championship, 6 were amazing. One was okay, and one was like a really bad thing in terms of try to do this, try to do that, and start to get goofy and all the shit. And I think just in the end, hey, we're still playing a game here. It's not like anybody from us gets like millions in football or whatever big sport it is. Like it's still a hobby. We still want to have like a good time here. And sometimes there's someone that's better than you, and someone there. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. That's it, basically.
Truly. No, 100%. It's a difficult game. There's a million rules. It changes every couple months. We have an edition every couple of years. It's difficult to remember everything, and I agree completely. If you mess something up, if you notice your team or your opponent messed something up, just have a conversation like, hey, everything's chill. What do we kind of like do from here, type of thing. You know, especially in a tournament. It feels bad to mess something up when you're competing, but we're playing with Plastic toys, and it'll be okay. Nothing, no one's dead. No one's gonna die. It's all good. I think that's a really good point. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good point because we should be having fun. We should want to win, especially if we're competing, but we should be having fun, and it's all good.
Agreed.
That's a nice sentiment. Nice, Tim. Thank you. I think, well, you know what? Thank you for being here, buddy. Really, I know it's the time zone can be different. It's funny because you're the second European that we've had come on, and I have to be like, okay, how
does time work?
How does
This
time
is a good
work?
question.
But thank you so much for.
I am Votan player.
How does time exactly?
I can only count to 4.
Thanks for taking us
1
time.
token, 2
Yeah,
token.
right.
Yeah, totally. I appreciate it. Thanks that I have the ability
Truly.
can be viable here and talk with you, and especially can talk with the Warhammer community that play Votan. And I hope we will get some better tournament wins overall, so we will not be again B tier that Out of War says to our army, because this is not right. I hope. No.
It's not right. Well, also, I don't know if you noticed the Goonhammer now when they post an article. If Votan's won, the last article they posted straight up said, Germany had a tournament this weekend, so Votan did well, which is just so. I don't know if you saw that. That killed me. That really killed me. But yeah, any closing thoughts, Tim, GP? How you anything to let us go to back to our work day today? Both of us are working.
I'm just going to echo the same thing I have. I think this is an exciting time. I think we're going to see a lot of people coming back into stuff. And I'm really excited to be back at it myself. It's going to be a good time.
I just agree with that. I think now it's the time where you actually need to start to think, play new things, play new detachments, and also, at least if you have the time and also you want to be a competitive player, don't be just because the most people say this is stupid, still play the army on yourself, do 1 or 2 games and just see if this works or doesn't work, because this is how meta basically is created. It's not like if everybody just says, okay, what is John Lennon playing or what is someone else playing and doesn't do anything else. We will just be in a really, I wouldn't say boring game, but it starts to be boring. And at least in Germany, I know that a lot of people at the start, at June, were okay, you know what will happen now, World Matter. Then the Votan came out, and after that, the whole German thing is basically completely mess because everything is working else here in terms of win rate and all the shit.
For real, Germany is its own little pocket dimension of statistics, which I'm sure throws the stat check desktop or dashboard for a loop sometimes. It's really funny. Cool. Thank you so much, Tim, GP. Always a pleasure. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to join us in the Discord, there'll be a link into the show notes, and hopefully now that I feel less of a poser and I'm playing Votan again, we can get some more episodes going here and there, because I felt really corny playing different armies and then talking about another army. So thank you everyone for your patience, and hopefully we get back into doing some more episodes. So everyone have a wonderful day, and we will check you later.
Have a good one.